Shut up. Oh, God.
Oh, fuck.
How's it going, buddy?
It's good, man. A little tired, but, had a full weekend.
Yeah. I know we've already talked, but Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank
For those
you.
that don't know, you're born on probably the worst day to have a birthday. Recovery day for so many.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was fun. We were, honestly, man, we were in bed by fucking 10. Well, we were in bed by like 9, probably asleep by 10.
Same. Yeah. My mom, she's in a senior's home, and they have their countdown for 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, there was fireworks at 9 o'clock here. So, like, we were in bed, and we could hear the fireworks, and then we have a mirrored building, so we could actually see the reflection of the fireworks and stuff. It was like, cool. It's nice. But it's so funny because leading up to it, like, I was just like, is Julia going to want to go out? Is she going to want to party? Then I'm like, what is your routine for New Year's and stuff? And she's like, I've spent a lot of New Year's at home. I was like, yes. Because this was our first holidays together, right? So I was just like, oh, fuck. Thank God. Because it's just too much. We had a great Christmas, too, though. Hanging out with her family and stuff. It was great. And then she had a niece that was born on the 28th.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, her brother delivered it. He got home before the doula midwife, and he delivered his baby girl. Pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So, but I saw you done that 26-kilometer race.
Well, the race there was no distance set. It was a 4-hour duration, like orienteering race. So it could have been, more. Like, I didn't even get to all the checkpoints. But what's funny is I did 26 and a half K. The guy who cleared the course, like, he hit every checkpoint, 26 and a half K. So I made some bad choices.
So it's just like you have 4 hours to figure it out kind of thing?
Yep. And the time if you're late, you get disqualified. And if there's a tie, your time is what decides your ranking.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I came in at 3:43 or something like that.
Out of 3:44?
No, that was the time. I came in third.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Congrats.
Yeah.
How many people competed? 3?
27.
Oh, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, it was fun. It was a new challenge. I didn't know I was doing it until Thursday night.
Oh, sweet. Well, yeah. Well, you've been working out a lot and training a lot, so
yeah, we've been skiing a lot, and this is fun, man. Fuck, the conditions were horrible. Like, I probably should have done 36K in that amount of time. Usually, that would be my pace, and there was just so much fucking snow on. It was horrible. It was so
Literally yesterday, we started getting our winter.
Yes, it's like minus something here today for a change, and we're supposed to get snow.
Yeah, same. We're supposed to get like 5 to 10 centimeters. By midweek, we're supposed to be minus 30. It's like,
whoa, minus 30. Fuck.
Yeah, like we literally been having in the plus, and we're just going to hit minus, like, we're going to have like 2 days of adjustment and then minus 30. Like, today's minus 16, I think. So,
wow.
Yay!
That's so gross. It's minus 2 here.
No. Wow.
It's supposed to go down. I think we're supposed to get minus 12 or minus 14 or something. But
yeah. So, well, I'm glad that I still had the foot for people that will watch this. Will hopefully have watched the Cindy's. We lost a whole podcast, pretty much, of unfortunately with John Clue. So we're going to be re-recording with him. I have the audio from that. But we're going to re-record, and then what I want to do is I just want to add that audio to the end with like a slideshow with some of his work or whatever, just so none of that's lost, because it was super organic getting to know him.
Yeah, totally.
But also after the fact, it was kind of like, oh, we should have touched a bit more on this, so we could touch that. And then with Cindy's, as people will see, because I just had the raw footage, what happens is in the studio is that everybody's streams come in individually, and they're recorded and saved. But while we're recording, my computer is screen capturing everything that's happening on my screen, video-wise. And so what happened was when her Wi-Fi kept clipping out and she'd come back in, her stream wasn't recording anymore. So what we should have probably been doing is either stopping and starting the video again, or probably even sending a new link for her to rejoin the studio.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we didn't know that until days later, because we recorded it in basically holidays. And then I was just like, oh my God, like our fucking stream didn't record. But thank God we at least had that screen. So that's why that one's literally I can't do anything with the audio because it's all together. I am not a sound engineer. I don't know how to separate that stuff.
And this is all on Shawn. This is all on Shawn.
100%. This is on me.
Shawn's taking it all on. We're just going to blame Shawn.
It's all me. It is me. It's 100% me. But I was 100% vindicated when you typed the word San Fran and then posted that online.
I was just trying to make the title short.
That's why people from San Francisco say SF.
Yeah.
Vindicated. No.
Yes.
But I'm excited. We have Dan Allaston today coming up. I'll send him the link in a little bit, but I figure we should just say hello, touch base.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So we're shortening the name because apparently Dave and some other people can't say the full sentence.
Oh, we don't have to shorten it.
No, it's just going to be kind of, it's no different. It's going to be kind of a big deal podcast. Yeah. It's what the email is. It's actually what the IG is, because there actually is, I think there was already So You're Kind of a Big Deal. Or I might have shortened it because you can't have the grammar in the name.
Yeah.
And to say So You're Kind of a Big Deal, you have to have the grammar. Right?
So, we could lengthen it.
That would be even better.
You're kind of a big deal, AKA the shittiest podcast known to man, with two technically inept
yeah. So you're kind of a big deal.
Oh, why don't we just call it So?
We're total idiots. Yeah, just call it So.
Like in honor of Peter Gabriel.
Oh,
it's a great album. So,
and that's how every podcast starts. That's our first question. So,
yeah, I like that. So awkward pause.
Yeah.
Cool. You got your painting done? You got your dragon painting done?
No, but my idea is fully envisioned. Sketches. No. Hey, sketches are done, but I'm doing this fucking Namakubi one first. I have to have this Namakubi one done for the end of this month.
Yeah,
and of course, I'm deciding like, hey, I should try something new.
Fuck. I'm trying to get my dragon one so I can get the fucking Namakubi one done.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it'd be shitty if I didn't get a painting done for the art show.
Yeah. But you're also going big. I'm not going big. I was going to go big for the dragon show, but I decided I'm going to go smaller just because of the style that I want to do it in. Because once again, I'm trying something totally out of my comfort zone that I've never done before, just style wise. And I don't paint that much, right? So I'm trying to do something a little different. But
I don't find size a differentiator in time.
That's just because that's what your girlfriend tells you.
It lasts. It's just.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Just seeing the stuff that's being put up, and then of course just being like, oh fuck.
Oh,
Anthony Tex on the fucking that Dave Knight you just sent me, sick. Anthony Tex posting his little video with his fucking like jigsaw bandsaw fucking thing. It's just like
getting crafty.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I'm about to have a garage. I'm about to have a garage again.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're gonna move. We went and saw a townhouse last night. So we're gonna move in the spring.
Nice.
I like being downtown. But this building it's fucking expensive and the elevators are always down. But anyway, it's gonna have a garage again, gonna have a dedicated podcast art room, then a room for guests and stuff like that. And it'll be good. It's on the north side, which is nice, where I kind of used to live. So it's super easy. I can actually like jujitsu's like super close so I can actually maybe start going again because I've been gaining way too much weight by not going. Just should be good. So I want to try some, different shit too this summer. All these other people I'm expiring. I'm like, oh, I have tools. I have Dremels and fucking saws and everything else. I'm like, after seeing people doing like cutouts on the Cube show and then this, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be fun. I have so much sign paint. I still have sign paint, one-shot sign paint from my days at Sacred Heart.
Jesus.
So it's got lead in it.
Ugh. Yeah, don't be licking those brushes.
You don't spit shade sign paint.
I got the worst headache the other day, painting all day, spit shading, and fucking just that FW gives me headaches so bad. It's time to go home. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But anyways, excited. We got some great guests lined up.
Today's guest.
Yeah, today's guest, Dan Allaston, New Moon Tattoo.
Legend. Like really, we call people that all the time, but this guy's...
Yeah. This is a legend from before my time in the sense of like, I remember seeing like flash of his, in the really early tattoo magazines and stuff, and just, being in Toronto, it's like, oh, New Moon Tattoo. It's just like, you would hear him. Other tattooers would mention him in Toronto, back in the late 80s, early 90s and stuff. So it's super cool. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this so that we don't have the syncing issues. I'm going to send him his link and then we'll be right back.
Send me a new link?
No, you just stay on.
Oh, okay.
You're not going anywhere. I'm just stopping the recording.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, this episode is brought to you by Good Guy Supply and Hold Fast Social Club as always. And we'll be right back with our awesome guest, Dan Allaston.
Whoop. Welcome to So You're Kinda a Big Deal, a weekly podcast deep diving into the lives of emerging and established tattoo artists. Listen in as we dig into origin stories, industry hot topics, and what it takes to survive in the world of tattooing. This is Tattoo Shop Talk. Join your hosts Shawn, Hedley, and Dave Allen every week as we host a new guest.
It's no secret Dave and I have a good guy connection, but we have a great relationship with many respected suppliers. Working with Lucas Ford at Classic Tattoo, I saw firsthand the blood, sweat, and stress he went through building Good Guy. Creating products for your peers is no easy task. With many to critique any small missteps, including myself, tattooer owned and family operated since day one. With Lucas, Rob, and Natalie at the helm, you know exactly what you are getting. High quality products, fair prices, and excellent customer service. Shop, support, Good Guy.
The Hold Fast Social Club keeps expanding and adding features to make the life of tattooers easier. We just launched a classified section for pros only. Sell your tattoo gear, prints, whatever, in one spot. This is on top of a platform with peer-to-peer vouching, direct connect, a wait list, and geo-searching. Now you can find guest spots or forever homes at studios everywhere. No guessing, no awkward conversations. See what shops or artists have to offer. Mark them as favorites or add yourself to their wait list to let them know you are interested. Hold Fast Social Club keeps adding features to make connecting easy. Pros only, a place where the best of us can elevate each other.
Awesome. Hey, Dan, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Do you have good holidays?
Yeah, it was nice. Quiet, a bit of family, a bit too much food, and, did a bit of work at the shop during the shutdown. So had my carpenter's hat on a bit.
Oh, nice. Right on.
Nice.
Awesome. So, yeah, this is just, what are you going to say there, Dave? You were about to say something.
I was going to say, we caught up with you in Calgary. How was the Calgary convention for you?
It was good. We had a good time. We wandered around, and I don't think I even tattooed this year. That's been happening, and I'm good with that.
It's nice to go and not be under the stress of working in that environment. But
yeah, bring the kids with me, and they can tattoo.
Nice.
Yeah.
That show was huge. Did you get to walk around the whole thing? I couldn't take it all in. It was too much.
We made an effort to wander, and see who was there, and it's out of hand. It's enormous. So many booths.
Yeah.
So many rooms.
Do you go to a show like that and think about how you're going to change the Toronto show, or does that affect how you run your show? For people that don't know, Dan runs the NIX convention.
We actually attend random shows just to see if there's any little things we can steal, set up, tip,
Yes.
promotion, light, anything really.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Tattooing, steal it.
Yep. It's all out there. There's no reason to try to come up with something new.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, let's go back to a little bit there at the beginning, Dan, and just kind of give us a little rundown on who you are and where you got your start.
Okay. Back then, things were very different. The story is probably common for then, but not so much for now. I started doing hand poke tattoos as a kid, on the other little shitheads. And progressed from there. I saw Prison Machines in a magazine, and I made a couple sets. And obviously had to try them out. Went from there. It wasn't a friendly environment then. If you walked into a shop, like, hey, I want a tattoo, it'd be like, yeah, get the fuck out, right? So I was working on the carnival a bit back then too. I think 80, 81. And, I had some homemade equipment. I actually had an old Zeiss setup.
Oh, wow.
Which, that story doesn't have a nice ending. On the carnival out west, and I was saving money to go meet up with them. And, as things happen, they all got fired and kicked off the show and came home. So I took that travel money and I bought like some brand new, Spalding setup, all nice and shiny chrome. And I traded off that, dirty old Zeiss stuff because, who wants that, right? One of many little mistakes along the road. So that's kind of why I use that. I started in 82. It's like when I got serious. I took, my sort of seed money and bought a bunch of new stuff. And it's like, okay, I'm good. I'm going to do this now.
Yeah. Nice.
So you were working in the carnival? What were you doing in the carnival?
Well, I was a zoo boy around the Tilt-A-Whirl. So you travel, set up the machine, set up the rides.
Sweet.
So I wasn't like tattooing legit on the carnival. I was, tattooing out of the back of the truck at night.
I always tell young people, like, it's one thing that really helps a lot of people in tattooing, especially back in our time, was we had carny personalities. We could talk people into getting tattoos, right? And it's like, now it's like, sometimes they're good at talking people out of tattoos. No. That carny personality is just like really upbeat, really like familiar for people and stuff like that. Like it really lets people we take their guard down, right? And then next thing they know, we're tattooing them.
Yes.
Yeah. So you basically started on your own. Did you end up finding a mentor?
No, absolutely no apprenticeship. I thought it was obvious. I thought it showed. Back then there was no tattoo magazines yet. There was no fucking Google. There was nothing. You collected books, magazines, clippings, whatever. Whatever you could find that you thought was an interesting image. Who else was like tattoos?
Okay.
It almost sounds like what you're saying is you were doing custom right from the very beginning. Did you have Flash in your first shop, or?
You could, yes, yeah. I mean, I've got early stuff from S&W Tattoo, Stanley and Walter. And then, then Spalding and Rogers was available to everybody then. But yeah, there was no local help. I didn't really have any sort of interconnection with other tattoo artists till I started going to conventions, sort of, early mid 80s, the Am Jam in Schenectady, New York. And, the big turning point was finding the Mad Hatters, in Maine.
Oh yeah.
Watching, the stuff of the day tattoo and just like, trying to suck up the vibe and what they were doing. And then there were people who were willing to talk to you and not, kick you out of the shop. So.
Yeah. So when you were coming up then in Ottawa, like how many shops were there in Ottawa back then, like in the early mid 80s?
Well, I started out. I was living in Montreal at the time. I lived in Montreal half my life.
Okay.
So sort of early '80s, like I kind of migrated. I lived in Cornwall for a number of years. Like so, I left Montreal because Montreal was full. Right, there was 2 tattoo shops. It was fucking full, man. So I had.
Was it Tatouage Artistique and Tattoo Iris? Were those the 2?
No. It was Tatouage de Quebec, the Demers family.
Oh yes.
So
that's
he was kind of the one that was not cool with me, but that made me like, oh, okay. But and strangely or unluckily, my first tattoo was from Tony Danessa. And
right.
Then after that, I got tattooed by Normand, and so because of my treatment over there, I never told Tony that I was trying to tattoo because I thought, well, he's just going to tell me to fuck myself too. So,
yeah,
that little thing might have made a difference, I also later got by Keith Stewart, who was working with Tony at the time, and in '93 and '94, I ended up running the Canada's first international tattoo convention in Montreal with Keith Stewart.
Okay, you just blew my mind. Well, I know that connection. I only just learned about that, though, a few years ago. But I never realized that Keith Stewart worked with Tony.
What?
That explains a lot to me now.
I thought you knew that.
I did not know that. I knew that they did not get along anymore. Yeah. So, crazy. Yeah. I used to go and guest spot at Keith Stewart's shop, and that place was crazy.
Yeah. Keith
was crazy busy
personality, the sort of the of the old school crusty tattoo artist, but lovable, right? Like he'd help people, like if he liked you.
Yeah, and man, I got set up big time by Bill Baker when I got sent out to go work at Keith's. He's telling me like months beforehand, like, "Oh, Keith's a ball buster." Man, he'll just come up behind you and be like, "You better be able to draw this," and he'll make you draw a hand on the spot. And I'm all like, "I can't draw hands." Bill's like, "I know, you better start practicing." So I'm practicing fucking hands. I show up at that shop and it's just like, "You know how to draw? Yeah, good for you." It's just he didn't give a shit. He'll be doing all this. Like, okay, yeah. The first day meeting him, I had like blood mat in my hair because I got tacked the night before by a guy with a hammer. So I had a broken hand. I had holes in my head, stretched ears, hung over, and Keith was just like, "Oh, fuck's sakes." And by day 2, he could see how fast I could tattoo. He loved me. And I went back every year for years until Pierre opened Tattoo Mania. But yeah, I did not know. I'm so blown away right now. Sorry. I did not know that him and fucking Tony worked together, and that explains so much now. How did you get connected with Keith to do the show?
Well, that's kind of one of those weird, small world deals. I mean, I got tattooed by Keith when he was at Tony's still, but he was still firefighting and tattooing part time. And then I ran into Keith years later again at a bike show in Ottawa randomly. He had a tattoo table set up there. And then sort of fast forward to years later, I'm tattooing at Dunstable in England. Big convention. It was a great show there. I think I did that 6 or 7 years from 1990 on to 98, in there. And we're taking a break, and we go to a restaurant, just down the street, sitting in the restaurant, and I look outside, and there's a dude sitting on the bench, in sort of the food court outside the restaurant, and it's Keith. So, we're like, what's going on, man? I didn't know him well at that time, and we're just like, another Canadian, and we just started hanging out that show, and then from there we started doing a bunch of conventions together. And our mindset when we did Montreal was not make money. It was like, can we do a show and have everything set up and everything available, all the shit that we're missing when we go to shows? Let's make it for the artists, so we can kind of not have to run around and buy this and buy that. And so that was kind of our mindset to tune the game up a bit. And, I think we did some of that. I think we did some stuff that became sort of standard.
Yeah. So what was the first year of the Montreal that you did with Keith?
1993.
Okay.
And
I think I was at that one.
Yeah, rather than, doing it in a Legion Hall or a skating rink or whatever, Keith was like, "No, man, let's go talk to the Queen E." And they looked us up and down, and you could see it was like, "No, man, we got to wash that shit." But we came prepared. I talked to Lou Robbins, who ran the Mad Hatters in Maine, and I'd talked to Joe, who runs the Nationals in the States, and got permission to sort of send them information and contact. And then after the Queenie contacted, these American show organizations, they called us back and they said, "Come down and have another meeting with us, and we'll have a suite for you for the night so you can stay in town."
Nice.
So we knew
nice.
How
Oh, that's
hotels.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember oh man, that show, a lot of people were at those early shows.
Yes.
Yeah, that was. I've talked to a lot of tattooers, and that show in particular was really instrumental in a lot of Canadian artists getting inspired and wanting to start, or if they were already a young artist, learning a whole ton and getting inspired and building a good network. That might be the most important show that they ever had in Canada.
I feel like because me and Keith were traveling, doing a bunch of shows at that time, some together, some individually, reaching out to, I think that show, that the lineup of artists was, close to unmatched in North America, for European, American, we had all the names of the day at those shows.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just remember in one little section, it was Mike Austin, Lance, I forget his name right now. He worked at Sacramento Tattoo, Scott McEwen, Eddie Deutsch, Chris Trevino, and then it's you go around the corner and it was Sean Velasquez. That was the first time I saw anybody wrap their clip cord in their rinse bottles. I'm not even joking. I was just stuff was actually happening at that convention that it was oh, this stuff needs to be happening everywhere now. It was crazy because it was early 90s, right? Yeah, that show was wild. Well, thank you for putting that on.
Yeah. I want to know back when you were getting tattooed by Tony and Keith, what was it like in a tattoo shop back then? What was that experience like? Because today everyone takes for granted what shops are like. I imagine it was a different thing. Yeah,
you minded your P's and Q's. You pick something off the wall and you sat down and you shut up, right? And you let the guy do his thing. You know, he was a king and you're, you know, in his castle. That's you know, it's a far cry from today when people complain about the type of bottled water you have for them during their appointment.
This isn't sparkling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give no amenities. I give zero amenities.
Nothing to complain about.
Nothing to complain about.
Who else were you getting tattooed by back then? You got tattooed by Tony and Keith.
From then, I think the first sort of big name I got tattooed by after that was Shotzi Gorman.
Oh, right.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I traveled down there, and that was such an eye opener because it wasn't a tattoo shop; it was, you know, an art studio. You know, there was a little waiting room, and then the area where you tattooed was big and was full of art, and he was super cool and personable, and it was just like, wow, this was, you know, not like every other place I'd been in. And then, you know, I got in those early years, I actually rode my bike from Montreal to California to get tattooed by Jack Rudy. And I think that was in '89. And along the way, I stopped and I visited Roy Boy in Scary Gary, Indiana.
Wild.
Oh,
Despite the videos of him, you know, rah rah, it's like he was super nice guy, and like he even like, you know, sent his customer around the corner to have a beer, so he could, you know, put a little souvenir on me, and he said, he's like, you know, and I wanted to get colored by Jack, which was kind of a weird thing because I don't know, that's just what I had in my mind at the time. And Roy said, you go over there and you tell Jack that Roy says he doesn't think he knows how to do color, and that'll get him on the stick. So I don't know if that's what did it, but I ended up getting color tattooed with Jack Rudy on that trip. You know, I also stopped at Doc Dog's Las Vegas tattoo company on the way there too, and so that was, you know, kind of so, you know, and Jack were some of the guys that, you know, looked at my, you know, my ratty little pictures and gave me some tips in the day. Like back then, you know, Jack told me how to, you know, make a mag and showed me a mag, and like that was like secret information back then. When I came back home with that, like nobody else knew what a magnum was. So that was
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wild.
It seems to be a reoccurring story for a lot of artists we have on here. Their first time ever seeing a mag, it's always the mag. There's a big epiphany. That's incredible.
It's wild how late in tattooing some of these people learned it, though. It's like, for me, it's like, what do you mean you only found out about the mag in year 2000? That to me is crazy. I'm like, what?
You know,
Wow.
I don't know if it's true, but I have this theory that, you know, maybe sort of Ed Hardy or that sort of crew, that the mag is an adaptation of the Japanese tabori tool, the sort of.
I could 100% believe that.
No, I have no proof to back up that theory, but hey.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you're bang on there. That seems logical.
I would think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Take a Japanese innovation, but you don't want to use that many needles.
So they don't fit in the tube.
Right? So it's like, you know what? Let's just use the same amount of needles, but then if we spread them out this way, they'll work. Right? So I could totally see that. I never even thought of that, but I absolutely, that is probably bang on, like Dave said. So, wow. What year did you open New Moon Tattoo?
Well, kind of, you know, 82-ish in Cornwall. So I tattooed it was like an add-on to the back of my house in Cornwall. So sort of from 82 to 90, And then in 90, I moved to Ottawa because, I thought Cornwall was on the small side. And Ottawa at the time didn't actually have a street shop. There was a couple guys tattooing in like, out of their houses or back room sort of settings. But there was not a street shop. And I'd been up to Ottawa to tattoo, at bike parties and whatnot. And so I decided to make the jump and, kind of cold went up there, rented a space, banged it out, opened it up. And, I opened that door on the 7th of the month and I didn't have next month's rent in my pocket. And
wow.
Seemed to have worked out.
And then you had lineups out the door.
Yeah, people were scratching at the window while we were building the place. So I'm like, okay, this might work.
Nice.
Yeah. That's an untapped market. That's just you just don't get that anymore. It's definitely not something.
Where are you gonna go that there isn't somebody tattooing? Like,
yeah, I live in a condo that has commercial spaces on the bottom. So if I'm walking in my front door, there is a tattoo shop on the left of my door and a tattoo shop on the right of my door.
my God.
Yeah. When I went to Ottawa, there was a guy sort of in the downtown in a rock shop. So I went to the other end of the city, thinking that was the reasonable thing to do. Now, people don't do that. They'll open up across the street.
Yeah,
or right beside you.
Yeah,
and not even say hello.
Oh yeah, not even say hello. Yeah. I had a friend who I thought was a friend literally open up like walking distance, and then I found out and was like, oh, they're like right around the corner from me, and they never even came in to say hello. I was just like, okay, I guess that's the way of it is now. But whereas Rob Hoskins, who we're gonna have on soon, he came in and I know Rob, and he came to my shop and checked it out and stuff, and he's like, hey man, I'm opening up across the way, and we're both kind of in little like different sections. I'm in like an industrial area. He's in a little bit more of a retail area and stuff. And he's like, I just want to let you know I'm going to be opening up over there and stuff. I'm like, awesome. You guys don't do anything like we tattoo, so give me some of your cards. I'll happily send people your way. And I have clients coming back and being like, hey, I went and got tattooed by that Liam guy and stuff. It's like, yeah, like there's enough room for everybody, but like,
of course,
maybe a little more respectful in the manners of moving around. I know. I'm just an old dude.
That's it. There's the right way to do things, but if there's no penalty anymore,
it's just so saturated.
Yeah.
No. And like, somebody said to me, and I'm pretty sure I've said this before on the show, it's tattooing has become so popular and so large that it's going to become like hairdressers. You're going to have all the super cuts and the magic cuts, and you're still going to have the high-end salons. And he just said to me, you just got to make sure you choose which one you want to be and continue to be that. He's like, you want to be, the lazy supercut guy, just has a shop and just does whatever. Or you want to be the salon that's, a little more picky on the work that they put out, and their clientele's a little more, affluent or, a little more knowledgeable in what they want to get tattooed and stuff. And then there's all the stuff in between, So, and that's, now I see it. When he said that to me, that was so long ago. And now I'm like, yeah, that's kind of really what it's becoming. Like, a lot of shops right now are posting like $60 tattoos. I'm like, $60 tattoos? What the fuck is a $60 tattoo? Like,
no kidding.
Like shop supply fees at most shops here are $30.
Yeah.
And then we have these young people doing $60 tattoos. I'm like, okay, well,
yeah,
but
just
it's easy to do that when you're living with like 6 other people or your parents.
The business, there's always going to be more McDonald's than there is steakhouses. So try and be a steakhouse.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and don't be mad about it, right? Like I definitely don't allow it to ruin my day. Like I see new shops open all the time. It's like, cool, good luck. I've been doing this for a long time. I know it's hard. I know some people that have recently are quitting tattooing and leaving tattooing for, different reasons or whatever. And it's like, okay, this is all I got. So this is what I'm going to stick with, and I don't need to worry about the other people and stuff like that. I just need to worry about my own shop and my own clients, and that's been the best mindset that I could have, but it is what it is. So now let's jump. So when you opened up New Moon, how long were you there alone? When did you start allowing other little tatters to come in there?
A very short amount of time. I think within 6 months, Bear, who used to run Dragonfly in Toronto, was living in Ottawa at the time. So Bear came and worked with me for about a year. Which was, like he walked in the shop and I was like, fuck, there's some dude I've seen in a magazine, and so, genuine old school, that, worked on the Danforth and so that was, he was the first guy to work in the shop with me. And then from there, was, I think it's on our website. We might have had, between guests and resident, I think we've had like 70 artists at the shop.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Your shop has a long history, in that area. Has your shop always been in the same location?
No, the same area, yes, sort of within a 4-block radius, but we're in our third location for the West End. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Cool.
Yeah. That's not bad. 3 locations in 30 plus years. So that's
40 years.
Pretty great. Yeah, that's great.
18 and a half in the first location and 10 in the second, and then we moved 5 years ago, and we're going to stay there.
Great, nice.
Yeah.
So, have you apprenticed anybody yourself?
Well, I guess that depends who you ask, because I would say yes, but it's usually a community event, because that guy's never there, they'll say. But yes, yeah, there's been, I don't know, 4 or 5. That's it, though. Like, total, like, never 6 at a time. So 4 or 5 artists have come through the shop. Milena Fusco, Glenn Parody, Julie Card, Haley Duhamel, who's at the shop now. So what else we got?
What qualifies someone to be an apprentice?
We're still a little bit on the old school. They've come from working a desk first, depending on art skill level. So they've kind of had to earn it. We I strongly disagree with apprenticeships being sold or being paid for in any way. So yeah, you have to earn it with being persistent. Keep bugging us, keep coming back with your little book of scribbles. So 3. So what I say, like 4 or 5 apprentices in all those years, and 3 of them are still at the shop. So,
oh, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, most apprentices, myself included, leave the nest after a year. Once you become tattooing on the floor, it's pretty common.
Your question, though, there's kind of a side to that question too, though, because in the middle, we kind of did this thing where we called it our upgrade program, where we stopped taking apprentices, but we just took on people who were already tattooing and they weren't happy where they were, and we'd come in and we'd look at their shit and just dump on it tell them everything they were doing was complete garbage. And if they recovered, they said, "Okay, I want to learn." So we did an upgrade program a few times too, where we, deconstructed existing tours and retrain them. Because stuff you think is common knowledge everywhere, sometimes it's not, man. We had people who had been tattooing years, and they didn't know how to put a stencil on. They didn't know you should shave people. We're like, real basic stuff. Like,
yeah, I tattooed with somebody that didn't know they were supposed to stretch the skin.
Yeah, no, it's good and wiggly.
Right?
When you're
And they couldn't figure out why their line work wasn't good, and why it was hard to make stuff solid. And it's like, and I watched, and I'm like, is your hand just resting on the body? And because the person that taught them, they were putting their hand there, but wasn't explaining that they were actually stretching the skin. So they were just mimicking that move. Like, I put my hand here like I'm holding a piece of paper, and I just go. And I was like, no, you have to stretch the skin, man.
Crazy.
I would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have thought, right? Just you should know these things. But also, sometimes if you've been doing it a long time, you just assume the person should know, maybe. Like, oh, you should know that I'm doing that. And it's like, well, why should they? Right? They shouldn't. We should be more aware of how we're teaching or mentoring people. But yeah, there's a lot of teachers out there, but doesn't make them good. Right. So
if how you do is sort of intuitive or not intentional, it's hard to teach that if you're not thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, but all right, let's go back to you started doing a lot of conventions really early on.
I think I've done.
How did
200 conventions maybe.
Yeah, that's like a lot of conventions.
That's on the high end.
That's a lot of conventions. Yeah, like that. I guess that was kind of just your way of your, getting to see and mentoring yourself through all this stuff. Was there anybody when you were on those travels where it was like something, a little piece of thing that you were able to take home that really you saw a change in your work?
Yes. Yeah. Little pieces all along the way. And I mean, in those travels, I met other people, sort of at the same point in their path as well. I met, Paul Massaro and Bob Montagna, when they were earlier.
Cool.
Well, so, someone I could talk to and, of course, always getting tattooed by people and watching, asking questions, like getting tattooed by Gil Monty, and he took the time to look at my ratty pictures and, give me a little art lesson. And, the same with, getting tattooed by Jack and just watching, trying to soak it up.
Yeah.
Technologically, I guess, early on, I met John Sargerson, who was a protege of Mickey Sharp's. So that's where I got my first Mickey Sharp's machines and some technical knowledge. And then, the year after that, I went to Dunstable at 90, and then got to go and meet Mickey with John and got tattooed by Mickey Sharp's as well. And so that's sort of, my late coming technological sort of information came through that school, through, through John Sargerson.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. Like just searching out and finding your own, mentors essentially, right. That can teach you those things and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I was the same, I was always ripping apart my machines, trying to figure out how they worked and why or whatever. And I could tune a machine. I don't know why. I couldn't definitely explain it to anybody. And then when I got a chance to meet and work with Bill Baker, he was like, who who built these machines? Because he could tell that the springs were no longer the Spalding stock. And I'm like, well, I did. And he was just like, what? And I'm like, yeah. But then it was him that was then able to explain why certain things was working, and, just that understanding and stuff like that. So, super grateful for that. So that's amazing that you were able to like travel to these places and, just people were willing to talk to you and stuff like that. That's awesome.
I know back in the early 90s,
machine building is like, it can't be understated, like him dissecting, all the different moves that'll give the same result, through his little magazines. That's, that stuff is gold.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You're talking about European influence. And I know back in the 90s, friends of mine, Mike Austin and Scott Duncan always talked about that Dunstable conventions and how important that European influence was on their work. Was that more of an Eastern thing in Canada? Because I know in the West it was more California based, that connection.
It might be. Of course, back in those days, you could almost tell where a tattoo came from because it wasn't entirely homogeneous. Then you could almost tell a British tattoo, from American. But yeah, I mean that it's funny you bring up Mike. Like there's a Canadian that for years I'd hang out with him in other countries, and we had never I'd never been to his place. It's like I mean I've since
amazing.
His
place is crazy too, right?
Like Mike would go to the Mad Hatters as well, so I'd see him at the Mad Hatters. I'd see him in Dunstable, and
yeah, he's an incredible artist, and his tattoo shop was insane to go visit. Like, I don't know what's crazier, the shop or this house downstairs. Or museum. I shouldn't even call it a house.
It seems to be. I don't know if tattoo artists are collect rats or somewhere in between, but
yeah,
a bunch of hoarders. A lot of us are just a bunch of hoarders. So, yeah. How many, we saw you, I saw your banner at Kelowna this year. I didn't see you. And then we saw you in Calgary. How many conventions are you still kind of doing or just visiting yearly?
Probably 6 or so, 5 or 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are busy.
That's amazing. Yeah. Dave and I were just talking about what ones we're going to do this year, and we're came up with none.
Yeah, 0.
Yeah. Now I'm just like, fuck, you're going to do 6?
Amazing. What is it about conventions that you like so much that keeps you doing them? I mean, a lot of us get burnt out on them, but
don't really take vacations of any kind, so I guess that's the closest thing to a vacation, right?
Okay, yeah.
Right, it's a subsidized vacation. I guess I'm cheap. I don't know.
Well, that's wild, because it's not only do you not get burnt out on you literally do conventions and do a convention.
yeah, exactly.
And you're still tattooing. And you have a family.
Yes. Well, to varying degrees, I guess. The Toronto show is an overwhelming thing. I signed on to partner up with Damien, but then,
oh no,
circumstances. I ended up, having
I
to.
think we might have lost you, Dan.
It was great getting to know Curly and this amazing guy that tattooed with one arm. The customer had to stretch his own skin.
So I did get blood poisoning from him twice. Yeah, twice. I had
Hardy brought this whole Japanese influence into American tattooing.
Once Dave Shore come onto the scene, it was like tattooing completely changed.
If anybody could say anything about greaseball Japanese, it's fucking Dave Shore.
Salty, piratey, bikery, just hard not to do.
Man, he'd pull in on his chopper with the tattoos and the girls, and I mean, he was just like so cool, man.
He captured vulgarity and pleasure and insanity and recklessness.
Tattooer in the 80s or 70s, just not the same, yeah, you had to be a tough guy.
I was scared shitless. Even though I was kind of a biker guy, these were bigger biker guys,
I'm not totally sure you could paint the picture accurately to somebody now getting into tattooing about what it was like then. And the only reason I would say, or I feel that way, though, is because they might not believe you.
We had the limo waiting for him with all the lines of blow lined up at the airport. This is the way we do it in Canada.
In like 80s, 90s, Paul Jeffries was like the king of tattooing. It wasn't just in Canada.
Like, am I supposed to stop tattooing? Because if this is what I'm supposed to aspire to, it's not gonna happen.
Each one of these old masters influenced groups of tattooers, who in turn influenced other groups of tattooers.
We'll go back to that question. All right, that was almost a big boo-boo. So yeah, let's try and find out how do you figure out this little bit of this balance here. Like you were just saying that the Toronto convention is pretty overwhelming to organize.
Well, I've got good solid people at the shop, and I only tattoo a day or so a week.
Okay.
So Toronto is a huge undertaking, and I'd only signed on to partner up with Damien, to sort of run it with him. But then he passed, and I had to run it, by myself without the benefit of even doing it once with him. So,
shit.
There was a certain level of panic because we did not want to kill his baby, right? And the longest running show in the country, we had to keep it going and polish it up if possible.
Yeah. No, it's always been a great show. I've had incredible experiences there, and just the number of artists and the quality of artists that you attract. I've seen some of my biggest star-struck moments were at that show. I'm glad it's still going. What do you have planned for this year?
This year, we're doing the 10th annual Dead Things Art Show and auction. Auction
with Keith Winterbottom.
Yes. In conjunction, we're going to be screening Paul Jeffries' documentary, 200 Hours.
Excellent.
So that's going to be set up. That's going to be our opening party on the Thursday night. Those
nice.
two things, which will also be running all weekend. And we're still pulling it together. We're a little over 5 months out, so we're looking at having more sort of wandering entertainment. Tweaking the judging. Going to do something closer to what Steve did in Calgary this year. With tokens rather than judging sheets, and trying to continue polishing it and making it, the sort of the best experience we can for the artists and and for the guests.
Yeah, nice. I don't think most people understand how hard it is to put on a show and how extended you have to be financially ahead of time just to secure a location. And tattooists always complain about conventions, and but they have no fucking idea what goes into it.
You're literally putting your house on the line to open those doors, and hoping you get it back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's like it.
how many shows did you and Keith end up doing in Montreal? The Montreal shows, because I didn't make it to all of them. How many did you guys end up running?
We just did the 2. We did 93 and 94.
Oh, okay.
And there was stuff going on in Montreal at the time, and a show in the States jumped on our dates as well. So there was a couple things that sort of converged where we thought, you know what, we're just gonna sit back, and not sink this.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, for some reason I thought there was more.
Yeah, no.
I guess that's why I didn't do more of them myself.
Yeah, so someone did one in 95, and then a couple years later, Pascal and then later Pierre started doing shows there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, well, shit. Crazy. So what conventions do you have planned yourself to visit this year?
What are we going to do? We got Quebec City, Montreal. We're going to do Calgary again, obviously, Okanagan. And I think we're just going to go and visit the Gods of Ink in Frankfurt.
Oh, sweet.
Go and wander around a bit, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. I hope to go back to Paris, but it's so soon, and we're just not ready.
Yeah. So when you do the Okanagan one, do you guys go? Do you stay a little bit longer with the family just because it's the Okanagan and summer?
No.
You're missing out.
I was going to say that's the one that you're not supposed to go in and out.
Yeah, that's come for a week, come for 2.
Yeah. Oh, wild. All right. Well, you've definitely been around a lot of prolific tattooers. You've definitely been tattooed by a lot of prolific tattooers. Now the time comes when we ask which 5 of those prolific tattooers in your career, or just from a distance, you look towards for inspiration, or just see them as that beacon of tattooing in your top 5.
I mean, some of them is like some of my early heroes have become friends, that I'm still like, I'll still giggle over that, I've got this guy's phone number,
Yeah.
So, Brian Everett, Jack Rudy.
Oh, yeah.
Paul Booth, Bob Tyrell, Philip Liu.
Wow.
Now,
that was fast.
That's the fastest 5 we've ever had.
there's nobody new in there, and there's so many stunningly amazing artists now that their names will never be as big as these guys because the crowd is so huge. The volume of quality.
Yeah. That's the other thing that allows me to not become that grumpy old guy, is because, man, there is so much good fucking tattooing happening now, even from the annoying new kids, where it's just like, what do you mean you've only been tattooing 3 years? You shouldn't be this good in 3 years. But it's like, man, that's just, they're bringing something to tattooing. And that for me is all that matters. It's just like, just that joy of like, man, I love good tattoos. I don't really care who does them.
There's an equal amount of stunning garbage as well. But
100%.
That's the way it goes, right?
But I've always said, like, when I started out, there's always that scale. Like if you had 10 tattooers in a city, 7 probably sucked, right? And then you had like 1 or 2 they were good, they were decent, and then you had that one guy. I think the scale's the same. It's just now you have a city of 1,000 tattooers, right? So there's still a lot of heavy bottom, but then there's a lot more of that like decent, passable tattooing where I like to fit in. And then there's, the really higher beacons and stuff. It's just growing and growing and growing. I try not to focus anymore on the lower end scale for sure.
But like back in the day, we didn't have Google, but we also didn't have filters for our Instagram pictures either. So
or Photoshop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You got to learn to see the tracks of the the stylus.
I'm not sure who ran that Instagram page, Tattoo Truth Fairy.
Oh my God.
You guys need to come back.
Yeah, totally.
You haven't posted in a long time. That stuff was amazing.
Yeah, it's needed. It's necessary. We have to do that when we review artists for the for the show. We get the applications, and it's like sometimes it's like, oh hell yeah, or other times you really if you find yourself having to look 20 pictures deep into someone's portfolio, and you're like, what's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah, it's like, and some people might say that's like kind of a gatekeeping thing, but it's like, no, it's a trade show. People are paying to come through the doors of this trade show. Those people need to be presented with all of the best. Like, people don't pay to go to a car show to see shitty car builds.
Yeah.
Why would tattoo conventions just allow anybody to tattoo at them? And I think a lot of people, they might get upset because it's like, oh, well, my tattooer never got a booth. And it's like, well, you love their work, but overall, was there somebody else maybe that was more worthwhile? You know what I mean? Like, I swear, I'm lucky. I get a booth at some conventions where I'm like, I shouldn't have got a booth. But I'm friends with that organizer, and that's why I got a booth.
There's nothing wrong with a barrier to entry.
No.
It's good to separate, makes you try harder. I would find that motivational. Like, I can't get in there. Shit. I need to work harder.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I never worked the Montreal shows. I remember being there just being like, I'm glad I didn't work at the Montreal shows. I would have been so overwhelmed by the people that were tattooing there that I might have quit tattooing. Whereas going as a spectator and seeing the caliber of tattooing made me want to go home and be better.
But you should leave a tattoo convention thinking, I should just go home and throw my shit in the garbage. That's the way you should leave a convention, and then like, okay, I'm gonna, what can I do to try and stay relevant?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So how many artists are you gonna have at the Nick show this year?
1,000.
Yeah.
Biggest show ever.
Take Steve's crown.
Around. Yeah, there tends to be some rounding up amongst organizers, but around about 500-ish.
God damn,
so big.
Yeah,
I remember going to tattoo conventions and there'd be 100 people, 120, and everyone was like, "Man, I can't believe there's this many tattooers in a room."
Some of the great old shows, they could be held in one of our conference rooms at the MTCC.
That would be, I wouldn't mind a smaller convention like that where you could actually take the time and see everybody's work and interact with them. When you're in a room with, 500 plus artists, I get overwhelmed. I don't even look at people's portfolios because I'm just like, so much.
Yeah. Well, we walked around the Calgary show, and then I started getting text messages of people that I knew that were there, and they had a booth, and I couldn't even find their booth. I'm just like, oh. Awesome.
We're capping Toronto like where we're at. Like there's plenty more space for us to take. We're just not going to do that. We have demand for probably more than double the booths we have, but I think we're just gonna. I think that's a reasonable size and manageable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you want to keep that that kind of demand, right? Like if everybody has access to a product, people get bored of the product, right?
Yep.
So it's you have a product and people want to be a part of it. They're always going to be scrambling to get in before the deadlines, etc. And when they miss out, they want in next year. So that's the best thing to do for sure.
Toronto's become a real tattoo city too. So I imagine that the show's busy. Like every time I've gone, everyone's tattooing.
Yeah.
It's super cool. I know growing up in Toronto, it wasn't that tattooy. I remember going to the West Coast for the first time and being blown away by how heavily tattooed people were. But you go back to Toronto now, and it's like just like any other city. Everyone's covered. It's great.
Yeah, there's no lack of talent in Toronto, that's for sure.
Fuck no.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you so much for joining us on your day off, Dan. This was great.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool. All right.
The True North Strong Tattoo Book. This is a massive tattoo encyclopedia of Canadian tattooers. 350 pages. It's an 11 by 17 coffee table format. Shawn and Dan worked tirelessly to get this thing out, and sadly it never made it to print, so it's available for free download at theholdfastsocialclub.com and championtattoo.ca.